Alright, so I'll just show you what I've done here so far. You'll see I've cut the handle off here and just smooth those down a bit on the belt sander. I just cut a piece of scrap steel and drilled a couple of holes in, drilled corresponding holes into the plastic just through the thicker part where the bottom part of that handle was, and actually tapped the plastic, and I've just screwed that on there securely. So the next step now will be to fit that onto the injection module so that I can line a piece up to go between here and the injection module. I'll then weld it on both sides so that it stays fixed, but it's quite holding that quite securely. So this part will stay welded to the injection module and allow for this to be screwed on and off. So I'll bring you back once that's done. And so there we go. We've got bracket welded on here with a couple of screws threaded into the actual plastic, and well, that's fitted together really nicely. That's nice and solid. I'm really happy with that. I've got the cylinder back in there now just to get an idea of weight, and actually I could probably weigh that. That'll be interesting to see. Hang on a second. Alright, so total weight is... Gee, error. Okay, well this thing goes up to, it looks like, we got to about 3.2, so I'd say that's probably about 4 kilos. So it's a little bit heavier than I'd like it to be, but it's the way it is, we'll deal with it. Okay, now I don't know how much battery I've got left. It's getting pretty thin there. I'll take you over here and show you some things that I got in the mail this week. It's just like Christmas, except that I had to pay for it all, of course. Alright, where are you? So I don't know if you can see over there. Okay, so this is kind of, I bought some steel today from the steel shop. This will give you an idea of, I hope it's bright enough there, this will give you an idea of the sort of setup that I've got. These are just some 12mm rods, which at this stage I'm thinking I may have to actually upgrade because they're not really coping under the weight over this distance. But so I've got these running on them. You'll see more of this as I put it together, but I've got these running on some linear bearings here, just sliding up and will slide up and down, which means this carriage will slide backwards and forwards this way. I've then got a similar setup here with these. I'll take those off, you can see them better. I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom you in, eh? That's a petrol can. Where are we? Alright. There we go. You can see those a little bit better there. So these are a linear bearing. Slide up and down on here. So 4 here just as there are on the bottom. And then there's going to be this plate. It'll sit on there like so. So that'll slide from side to side, and that gives us our X and Y axis. In this way, so we'll be able to move all the way forward, all the way back, side to side. Mounted on here, then coming up this way. We'll figure all this out later, obviously. It's basically going to come up here so that our injector module will sit something like that. And I'm just about out of battery. I've got some other stuff to show you. I've got heat bands. I've got 3 of those. There's also my digital temperature control turned up. And some other goodies, so I'll show you all that once their battery's recharged. Okay, so just doing a bit more work on the moulding machine today. Better turn the camera on and bring you up to speed. where I'm at. Welcome to the garage. New pair of calipers for today. Yay. Alright, so where I've started, I've removed all that steel that you saw sitting on here last time. It was just kind of a mock-up. Plans for this obviously are very fluid. Basically what I've done so far, I've got 2 lengths of square hollow section, which is, let's have a look, they're each 700 long, and I think they're 50, yeah, this is 51, so say 50 by, I think they're 50 by 100, yeah, 50 by 100, and they're a 5mm wall thickness. I did get this thickness in case I wanted to tap into it, just to give me a solid thread, amount of thread, but I haven't had to do that so far. I think I might be doing that next actually. So far what I've done is I've got some M10 bolts, 3 on each side that are coming through from underneath, and are bolted through here, 1 at either end and 1 in the middle. So they are mounted there nice and solid. What I did with the middle one that's around about here, because obviously I couldn't get, well, I probably could have if I tried, got a spanner or a socket up through here onto the nut. What I actually did is on the underside I drilled a hole through the bottom of here that the M10 bolt would go through, and then I welded a nut to the underside of the steel, and just hollowed out a section in the table, a recess that would fit the nut into it, and then obviously bolted up from underneath. But so they're very, very solid. I've been over it and made sure that they're parallel. Got 490 there, 490 there. I'm sure it's not 100% accurate to any sort of machinist detail, but certainly good enough for what we want. So that's now the base for our carriage, I'm calling it. I suppose is a good enough name for it. So the next step really is to mount some runners along here. Now the runners that I've got had planned for there, I think, were these ones here. Now the original plan, as you can see by the length of these, was to have this run, the ability to run this carriage the whole length, and these are quite tight running on this mild steel, and for that to be able to run the whole length. You see these are what are called, for those that don't know, this is a linear bearing, so it's hollow inside, and it has straight lines of ball bearings going through it. I think on 4 different sides, so that runs up and down there nicely. And it's got I think they're M10, actually I think they're M5 threaded holes through there, which I'll make use of. So yeah, so the top carriage is obviously going to bolt to those, and this allows them to slide up and down. Now the thing is, because I've probably, if I was to do this again, this is an M12 or 12mm rod. You are supposed to use with these a hardened stainless steel rod, but I don't know, for some reason I decided to go a bit cheap. At the very least I probably should have gone to maybe an M16, a 16mm bar, because this is holding quite a lot of weight. And when I mocked it up before and I had it sitting here with the weight of everything on top, this obviously was starting to flex. I don't know if you can see that, but that's flexing there. So what I'm going to do, first off, I decided that the carriage doesn't need to come all the way to the end here. It just seemed a bit silly. It probably, if I've decided to have my clamping in the front half of the section here somehow. Probably still using a hydraulic system, a pneumatic system. So this carriage really needs to only have limited travel at the back. So long as I can get into this sort of range here with the injection module, I should be right. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to shorten this up. I think the width of the carriage is going to be I think it's going to be around about 200. So what I'm going to do, I should be able to make it that if these are spaced only 200 apart, they don't need to travel all the way along backwards and forwards. So I should be able to. I mean, obviously having this a lot shorter with the supports at either end makes this a lot stronger. So I don't know if it's maybe overkill or if I should really need to do it. I was thinking of putting another support in here, but actually holding that there, that really is quite strong. So I'm actually tending to go against that idea. I don't think it's maybe what I'll do. I'll maybe go to as far as halfway on these bars, so around about the maybe 350, maybe as far as 400 on these, and without a support in the middle. And if I decide later on down the track that I need one, that's what I'll do. So the next step for me then really is to cut this off shorter, decide where I'm going to put these end supports. I will drill, I'm planning on drilling through into here and tapping it M5 size so that I can run an M5 bolt through there, and then we'll move on from there. So what I'll do, leave me with that and I'll bring you back once that's done. Alright, so now as you can see here, the linear bearings are now fitted to the first carriage on either side, nice and securely. What I ended up doing, this plate is a 20mm thick plate, and I have ordered longer screws or bolts really to go through there. I've ordered some with a countersunk head so that I can make them flush with the top plate to screw these on, but they haven't arrived in the post yet and I'm a bit impatient, so I want to get stuff done. So what I ended up doing was I've got these 12mm cup head M5 bolts. So I ended up doing I can show you, but anyway, I ended up doing a just slightly larger than a 5mm hole through, all the way through, corresponding with each of the 4 holes in our linear bearings, and then I ended up drilling 3/4 of the way down with another drill bit big enough for the head to fit through. So these sit in about here, which is certainly enough to secure these. So they're all on nice and tight now, 4 on each side. Fortunately I managed to, whether through arse or class, I managed to get those to go through in a line so that straight rod does move through relatively easily. The same with the one on this side. This one's a little bit easier. They still need to be greased up, and I'm sure with a bit of use they'll get even easier still. So just to show you how that's going to be positioned, turn this over, it's bloody heavy. There we go, so that'll sit there like that. So the next thing to do is get our rod supports. It'll sit in here and pick that up, and then this will be able to move freely. I did get a small injury, unfortunately. I wasn't filming at the time, I don't know if you can see that. So, tip of the day, using a drill press, roll your sleeves up, don't let your cuff get caught in the bloody chuck. Freaking hurt. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'll drill these and I'm going to use the same bolts as I've used in here, these cup head ones. So I'll position these, drill some, I think for these I need, for it to be able to tap these to an M5 thread, I need to drill them out to a 4.2mm drill. So I'll get that all sorted out now, and yeah, I've had a shave. I'll get that all sorted out now, and I'll also cut these rods down a little bit shorter, as I was saying before. I'll bring them back to about halfway, and I'll bring you back once that's done. Alright, so I'm not sure how well that's showing in this light, but you'll see now that we've got this first carriage made. With our linear bearings running on the 12mm round bar. It runs relatively smoothly. It's not as smooth as it would be if you use the proper hardened stainless steel round bar, and in hindsight I probably should have gone for the thicker, maybe a 16mm. But I think this was going to be good enough. If I have any issues, I can always put some sort of support in the middle here, but that will just obviously restrict the amount this rolls, but I think we're going to be okay over that distance. So the next step from here is going to be is it our X-axis carriage? I can never remember X or Y. So again, it's another piece of 20mm plate. I think that size is around about, let's have a look. Yeah, it's 200 by 200 and 20mm thick. So same setup, we'll be running a couple of bars this way. I'm thinking at this stage I'll have a little bit of overhang on this side, and but it's basically going to be the same process. So what I might do is I'll get that done and I'll bring you back and show you once that's complete. So now that that's done, the next step will be to drill and tap these rail supports in. Now I'm not taking them right to the end because I really don't think there's any too great a need. That'll bring the injector to this position at least, and again we're just trying to get so long as we can get the injector in this sort of vicinity here. You can see what I'm even doing in this vicinity here. I think we'll be okay. That'll bring this one over to as far as there and back to as far as there. Probably bring us over like that. I think that's okay. Maybe I will take it out a bit longer actually. because these rods aren't holding as much weight as these ones, because these ones have got the added weight of this plate. So now I think about it, it's probably the best to put as much in as we can. I'll just tighten that one up a bit. Alright, so I just ended up, I think it was this rail that was stuck. Just run it up and down a bit on the belt sander, and it's now flowing nicely. So the next step is going to be drill holes for these rail supports and tap those out. We'll get those fitted up. Should probably do. There we go. Alright, so I just need to repeat that process 3 more times and we'll be able to bolt these up. I'll bring you back once that's done. Alright, so you can see now that that's now got everything attached in there and tapped in. I'm quite happy with the way that's sliding backwards and forwards quite smoothly, and also back towards this way, so it gives us that full range of motion on across the X and Y axis. So the next thing to figure out is how I'm going to attach a vertical Z-axis. So what I'll do a little bit of work on that and I'll bring you back once I've got that figured out.